When talking about the most popular legends in Apex Legends, it's impossible not to bring up Wraith. The Interdimensional Skirmisher is a part of nearly every squad due to her small hitbox and her great abilities. But there's so much more to the character than just that. From her literally insane backstory to all the skills and tricks you could perform with her, we'll let you in on everything that you didn't know about Wraith. The interesting thing about Wraith is that she doesn't even know who she is. Yes, we all know that she's an incredibly skilled whirlwind fighter capable of taking out anyone with swift and deadly attacks, while also being able to manipulate the space-time continuum by opening up rifts from different dimensions. But she has no idea how she obtained all of these incredible abilities that most people would die for. What we do know is that years ago, before she took part in the Apex games, she woke up in an IMC detention facility for the mentally ill, with no memory of her life before. The IMC is known as the Interstellar Manufacturing Company. This company is based on Earth, and essentially what they do is send their fleets to the outer reaches of the universe and exploit the rich resources of those worlds. Their teams are composed of miners, pilots, and everything in between. This controversial company sparked plenty of conflicts in both Titanfall and Titanfall 2, specifically with the Frontier Militia, who were opposed to having their valuable resources exploited, and we don't blame them. Now back to Wraith. She has literally no recollection of her past. Bloodhound is a similar legend who's also shrouded in mystery, but at least they know who they are and remember everything about their past, even though they don't want to share anything about it. For Wraith, she literally doesn't know anything about her past. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not remembering anything. You don't know who you are, you don't know where you are, and you don't know what you are. You'd probably go crazy, wouldn't you? Wraith's situation is even worse than just a simple case of amnesia. Not only did she wake up without any memories, but the second that she woke up, she started hearing a distant voice whispering in her mind that would keep her awake for entire days at a time. So not only is she freaking out over her memory loss, she's hearing voices in her head that are literally keeping her up at night. These voices may have nearly driven her insane, but in an attempt to try and restore order in her life, she decided to give the voice a chance. If you're hearing voices in your head, wouldn't you give them a listen? Probably not, but Wraith did. She learned to listen to it, and this led her to discovering her new name, Wraith. She also learned to trust it, which ended up being a blessing in disguise. The voice helped her harness her powers and escape the heavily guarded maximum security facility through the use of void manipulation. It was on this day that she became known as the Interdimensional Skirmisher. After leaving the facility, Wraith was determined to uncover her true identity at any cost. She wanted to find out who she was before she woke up, and what gave her these powers. The voice in her head convinced her that the ICM was using their detention facility for the mentally ill as a front to conduct horrible experiments on people. She thought the experiments done on her were to turn her into some kind of super soldier capable of being an asset in the fight against the Frontier Militia. Kind of like how Steve Rogers became a super soldier by being injected with the super soldier serum to help defeat the Axis powers. Supposedly, many of the old ICM research facilities in the universe are buried underneath heavily guarded arenas used for the Apex games. This is what initially got Wraith interested in the games, something that she had no knowledge of previously. Due to the fact that the answers to all of her questions may lie underneath the Apex games arena, she decided to join the games in the hopes that she'll get closer to the truth with each and every match. For her sake, we sure hope she finds the answer she's looking for, because we don't wish what she's gone through on our worst enemy. Redditor Captain Crunch09 noticed something interesting about Wraith that may explain even more about her life before she woke up without any recollection of her past. If you look closely, she has a pilot insignia on her chest. They indicate what type of soldier you are and what you specialize in. Due to this insignia and the fact that she woke up in an IMC facility, it's possible that she could have been a former IMC phase shift pilot. Phase shift pilots are capable of shifting in and out of dimensions, which is something Wraith can do with ease. This further supports the idea that the IMC may have done experiments on her just to give her special powers, so she could be just as effective as an infantry unit in the fight against the Frontier Militia. It's also possible that maybe during one of her interdimensional phases in her ship, something went wrong somewhere which messed with her head, forcing her to be put in a medically induced coma in an IMC detention facility for the mentally ill. Either way, it's a really interesting bit of information that adds plenty to her backstory and may give us some insight to the person she was before she lost her memory. While the lore doesn't indicate this, and we're pretty much making this last theory up ourselves, is it possible this detention facility isn't actually a front and maybe a legit place to care for the mentally ill? That could definitely work. Think about it. If she woke up and started freaking out, there'd be plenty of armed guards capable of incapacitating her again. Maybe they did actually want to help her get rid of the voices in her head. Unless Respawn decides to add more lore to their characters, we'll probably never know the truth about who Wraith was before she lost her memory. But one thing that's safe to assume is that she was definitely involved with the IMC, and she is one heck of a badass. Now that we've taken a look at everything we know about Wraith's backstory, we're going to let you know about a few secret items that you could get for her, and only her. You may think that you can only get common, rare, epic, and legendary gear from Apex packs, but that's actually not the case at all. There are secret items known as heirlooms that you have an incredibly low chance of getting, and as of right now, they are only available for the Wraith. We're sure some heirlooms will come out for other characters eventually, but they're exclusive to the Void Runner for the time being. Like all items that you could get in Apex packs, these heirlooms are purely cosmetic, but they're still really cool and will set yourself apart from other Wraith mains. The most interesting heirloom item has to be the melee weapon skin. It does the same amount of damage and everything, it just looks cooler doing it. You also get a new banner pose and badass intro quip. Like we said though, these heirlooms are really rare, so don't expect to buy 10 packs and get them. Now it's time to get into the nitty gritty and look at some of the tips and tricks that'll make you dominate opponents with Wraith on the battlefield. If you main Wraith like Unit Lost, then you know she has incredible abilities that allow her to manipulate both time and space. But there's another reason why she's one of the best legends to use in the game. Wraith's hitbox is the smallest among all the characters you could play as in Apex Legends. This means that she's the most difficult legend in the game to hit, because there's simply less of her to shoot at. If you've always wondered why some of the best players out there are doing so well with Wraith, this is a big reason why. Just for comparison's sake, Gibraltar's hitbox is more than double the size of Wraith's. And we're not even exaggerating. Players tend to underestimate how important having a small hitbox is. Wraith's small size could single-handedly win you a gunfight, and it just might explain why your Peacekeeper is barely even damaging a fellow Wraith. We could only talk so much about hitboxes though, so let's get into her abilities. Her tactical ability, Into the Void, is very useful. It has a cooldown of 15 seconds and can be used to enter a void space, avoiding all damage from players or even the ring itself. When it's activated and you enter the void, everything around you becomes gray. You become invulnerable and you're invisible, but you do leave a purple streak behind you so players could still follow you. You can't use the ability to sneak up on other players either, because you can't see anyone else while the ability is active. Interestingly enough, if other Wraiths are using this ability at the same time as you could see them, since you're both occupying the same dimension, but not other players. There's a brief delay when you press the button and enter the void, so you could still take a bit of damage before it activates. And even once it's finished, there's a bit of a delay to take your weapon out, so it's best used to reposition yourself and get into a position where you're no longer vulnerable. This ability is also very useful in escaping fights you know you won't win at close quarters, since you can just nope right out of there with the press of a button. If you learn when and where to use this ability, it could make you a very difficult target to take down. Wraith's passive ability, Voices from the Void, is also as solid as they come. If someone's looking at you, aiming at you, or traps are nearby, like Caustic's Nox Gas, you're given the option to warn your teammates, which means that you can let them know that a squad is nearby. Like most legends, her abilities are best utilized when they're combined. This all leads us to Wraith's ultimate ability, Dimensional Rift. This ability allows her to link two locations with a portal for 60 seconds that both teammates and enemies can pass through. When you step into the portal, you quickly teleport to the other side of it at roughly 5 times the speed of your character. The cooldown for Wraith's ultimate ability is 150 seconds, or 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And while it's not the most game-changing ability out there, it still has its uses. The main one being you get to keep your squad together. If your teammates are very far behind, you can create a max length portal for them to go through so they could catch up to you. The ability does give you a bit of a speed boost, but you give off a purple trail just like with Into the Void, so you're not invulnerable and invisible while using it, which is why it's smart to combine it with your tactical ability if you're using it around enemies. Last but not least, downed teammates could also go through the portal, so you could use it to transport them to safety, which is a very nice gesture that your teammates will very much appreciate. You could also use a downed teammate to bait enemies into going through the portal if they're dumb enough to fall for the obvious trick. It doesn't matter how good you think you are at using Wraith. If you don't know how to use her portal correctly, you're not getting the most out of the Interdimensional Skirmisher. From not knowing where she came from to becoming one of the most dangerous legends in the Apex games, Wraith's journey has been incredible. On the battlefield, her abilities make her a difficult target to hit, and she can help her teammates get out of sticky situations. No matter what, she'll keep searching for answers. And if every road leads to the same place like she says it does, then we hope the destination is worth the ride. And that's everything that you didn't know about the Interdimensional Skirmisher, Wraith. Is there anything that we may have left out about her? Who do you main in Apex Legends? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Apex Legends videos. Thanks for watching.